This is the end of our session, and I just want to say thank you so much for being with us. I hope that you enjoy. And if you would like to listen again, make sure you follow us on social media. Each session will be always on our pages. And also on our profile, you will get access to a link which will take you to Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, or other platforms where you can listen podcast sessions. Thank you once again, and I speak with you very soon. I see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye. For today's podcast, my guest is Raylene Taskoski. Raylene does stand-up comedy in living rooms throughout New England. She's been educating women about how their bodies work and why they work that way. And along the way, she gains some hilarious universal truths and insights that leave her guests laugh and a sense of relief that it's not just me. The stand-up comedy, Sex Ed, is about taking the living room on the road and letting everyone hear what we've been talking about in private. Let's welcome Raylene Taskoski and talk about sex ed and stand-up comedy. Hello, Raylene Taskoski. Welcome to my podcast today. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is super exciting. I didn't realize I was going to be speaking in London today. Now I feel very international.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's all right. And how are you today? How are you doing?
I'm good. It's a beautiful morning over here in Lisbon, Connecticut. Oddly enough, I actually live in New London County in Connecticut.
So in some way, we are actually in the same city.
We're in the same place. Yes.
Kinda, but in different countries. Woohoo!
Named after your country. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm so excited for this podcast because I never had a comedian. You're gonna be my first one. And I want to know a lot of things, but one of my questions is, what do you mean by sex ed? What is that?
All right. So sex ed, sexual education. It's like your high school class on sex, but more involved and with a touch of humor. Oh. So how this whole thing started was I have been in direct sales for 13 years in a company that sells adult novelty products, which you do not have over there in England, but you do have another company over there. Yeah. And something maybe? I'm not remembering the name of it, but I know you have a similar. And Summers, is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And Summers or something Summers. Yeah,
yes.
Definitely.
So there's that type of thing over there. And over the course of doing this for 13 years, people would say regularly, you should do stand-up comedy. You're super, super funny. And I would say, I'm not a stand-up comic. I'm a sit-down comic. So I can sit down with you and make you laugh all night long. But if I stand up, then I'm not funny anymore. And I had a business coach, and she said to me, what is your favorite part of the party? And I said, my favorite part of the party is when everybody is laughing so hard they can't breathe, they're getting migraines, they're peeing their pants, they're crying. And that's my favorite part. And she goes, well, what about when you get into the shopping room and you're talking to them about the products that will work best for them and improve their lives. And I was like, no, that's how I make money. If I could just, drop the mic and walk out of the room and let somebody else handle that, that would be ideal. And she said, well, then you need to go do stand-up comedy. And I was like, no, I don't do that. Because I had tried it once when I was 27.
Okay.
And it was scary. And I bombed hard, like the 5th time I got on stage. And then I was like, no, I'm never doing this again.
Oh my
and
God.
she said, well, Raylene, you paid me so much money to be your business coach. Why will you not take my advice? So I said, fine.
Great.
I'm going to go do this open mic, and I'm going to do it Facebook Live. So all of these people who keep telling me I should do stand-up comedy can shut up, because they'll see I'm horrible. And I got up.
You made them watching you, like you send the information to everyone. Yes, I'm going to be live and everything, right?
Yeah, I just kind of posted it on my Facebook, and I said, I'm doing my open mic tonight, so just watch. So by the time I got home that night, I had 1,200 views. Within a week, I had 7,500 views. Whoa. And I had been invited to be on 2 other shows. And I was like, okay, what just happened?
This is for me.
And I loved doing it, but comedy does not pay well. Selling sex toys pays very, very well. And so,
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it does. It's a pretty lucrative job if you're willing to put in the work.
Okay.
And so I would do these like somebody would ask me to be on a comedy show, and I would do it, and I'd get like $50. Mm-hmm. But if I had done a party that night, I would have made $350. And I'm just like, this isn't as cool as I thought it was. So I started backing off and not really doing anything unless somebody would just message me out of the blue and be like, hey, you want to be on my show?
Yeah.
Like they were looking for a woman, or they were looking for a white woman, which is actually so many times I've been the only white woman the only white person on the show and the only woman on the show. So I'm like the token white person. It's just so funny to me. But I love all of those guys who always think of me. And I would go do those shows, and then they'd remember me for a little while, and then I'd fade away. And one night I had done a good show, but I was aware that I just didn't, it was all right.
Yeah.
But then the next night I did a party, and that's my element. And I'm with the people, and I'm on their level, and I'm talking to them, and I'm interacting with them, and everybody's laughing, and I'm laughing, and I'm having such a good time. And I said, why is it that I don't get the same feeling when I'm on the stage as I do when I'm at the party?
Okay.
And I kind of just said to myself, it's because when I'm doing the party, I don't have to be quite so scripted, and every second doesn't have to be funny.
Yeah.
And so then a few months later, I was having trouble sleeping, and it was probably about bills or something, because when you're self-employed, there's ups and downs always. And I have this rule where if I'm tossing and turning for more than what feels like 30 minutes, I'll just get up, because I know I'm not just going to fall asleep. So I might as well just get up and do something. So I'll get up, I'll watch a movie, I'll read a book, I'll do something. And I got up, and I had bought a book called You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero.
I heard about it. I heard about that book.
Yeah, it's a really good book. There's You're a Badass, and then You're a Badass at Making Money, and I've read both of them. And I pick up the book, and I sit down, and I open up to just the title page, and out of nowhere, the entire universe just flooded my head with, why aren't you combining the two things that you love and that you're good at and making it?
Can you believe, Raylene, I was thinking about that. Why she's doing one thing and two things. Now I'm carry on. I want to listen.
There you go. So, I mean, everybody got it before I did. And so I said, so why don't I do stand-up comedy sex ed? And the funniest thing is I had purchased the domain stand-up comedy sex ed like 4 years before, and I had just parked it because I didn't know what to do with it. So that was it. I made a decision that day. I called a friend who had access to a hall, asked her for a really good deal, made a flyer, posted it out there, and then went on vacation. I did like no marketing, no nothing. And then I came back and I did a show, there was only like 20 people at the first show, but it was really just so I could find out whether or not it was a marketable thing.
Okay.
And one of the things about the company that I'm in is it's ladies only. So I've only ever done most of the jokes and most of what I say in front of women. And so stand-up comedy sex ed is a co-ed event. And so now this is the first time I was telling the jokes and the stories and whatever in front of a male audience or a co-ed audience. And the response was tremendous.
I imagine.
Yeah, it was really good. The guys were in it. They had fun. They laughed. They, were just really in it.
Yeah.
And so I tried it again.
Yeah.
And the second time I had 90 people.
Fabulous.
And everybody who was at the first show came to the second show and brought friends.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this is crazy. Again, it worked out well. And so then I've done it 2 more times since then. And each time the venues keep getting bigger and the response is the same every time. This is needed. This is fun. This is a great date night. This is a great girls' night. And this leads to amazing conversations.
Oh, wow.
When are men and women going to be in a situation where they can talk about sex openly with somebody else starting the conversation besides therapy or porn? Right? and neither of those may be something anybody's interested in, but a comedy show, people will come to. And I'm bringing forward all of these facts and all of these situations and all of these scenarios and all of these stories. And then on the way home, people can say, hey, what did you think about that? Or what did you think about when she said this?
Make a conversation about what you were saying. Yeah, I totally understand. Right. So, wow, this is
and amazing. I also talk about toys because it's a comedy show, it's a sex ed class, and it's an adult novelty party all mixed into one. So sometimes you want to go to maybe a store and buy something, but you don't know what it is or how it works, and it's awkward, and you don't know, you don't want to ask the person at checkout, hey, what's this do? What's this part go? So I just cover it right up front. These are the main types of toys. This is where how it works. This is where it goes. Make sure you use this type of lube with this toy and this type of lube with that toy. And I really enjoy doing it, and the people who are at my shows seem to really enjoy being there.
Fantastic, because at the end, exactly what you're talking about all these items that you've been selling on the store for years, right? And then you add your comedy part, and I can't imagine. I'm thinking, well, I'm not in London. I'm in London, but not your London, and I can't. I can't go to your show. Otherwise, I would go. If you got one this week, I would go. Is there any way that we can be I can watch you? Is there any place? Like, I don't know. You do anything online?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel where I've cut out some of my jokes and I put them on there. And it's just YouTube.com/C/Raylene Taskoski. Oh, and I've got a bunch of them up there, just little, snippets that I pull out. And more of those are the funny things versus the educational ones, because, people aren't going to love and share educational moments, but they will love and share funny moments. So I do that. It is my goal to get out to London someday. I would like to take the show international. I would love to be in London. I would love to be in Australia. I would love to be anywhere they speak English and would like to laugh about sex.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to make it. And I will be here waiting for you. Just give me a shout, y'all, I'm coming. I will be there. But during this, because, right now we are going through the COVID-19 quarantine, isolation stuff. And would be, I don't know if you've been doing, but would be a great idea for do some online and earn some money. I don't know if you're running any comedy or even for free, just to make people laugh and just get off of this quarantine thoughts. And, a lot of people goes down. Would be a good idea, no?
Well, that's why I'm dropping the videos. I drop a new 2 to 3 minute video every Friday just to give people a little funny.
Okay.
I'm starting my own podcast tomorrow, actually.
Great.
I'm still calling it Stand-Up Comedy Sex Ed Podcast, but it's really more of a conversation and just me being a dork. So me being a dork, people are gonna laugh, and I'll probably drop in some of my regular jokes when it's easy to bring the laughter up.
Great. So, Raylene, you said on your description that you've been educating women about their bodies. So this been through your job,
yes,
right? Through that job in the store. So you've been teach them about the way and why the body works like the way they do, the way our body works, right?
Right. Or a general idea, because everybody's body works slightly differently. But it's important that, well, Hollywood does a really horrible job of giving us any reality when it comes to sex.
Okay.
And so a lot of women feel like they're doing it wrong because of what they're seeing on TV and in movies, when what's on TV and movies is not real. You know?
Yeah.
On TV and movies, either the woman is bored constantly and the guy's just pounding away, or
it's very beautiful sometimes. Too beautiful.
Yeah, it's too beautiful. There's never any sort of noises. There's never any air. There's never any farting. There's never any oops.
Yeah.
That's not where that goes. There's, there's never women don't. I mean, there's jokes that women take a lot longer than men, but when I give them the facts that yes, women are like crock pots and men are like microwaves. I actually have a 3D clitoris that I show because people do not understand the clitoris at all. It is a much larger object than we give it credit for. It's just that it's like an iceberg. You know how they say if you see the tip of an iceberg, there's a whole bunch underwater? That's kind of what a clitoris is like. That little bitty part that we can see is just the tip of the iceberg. And it's, 6 to 8 inches long when it's fully aroused. It's like an inside penis.
Oh.
And because the only way to arouse it is basically that little iceberg, it takes time. And so it takes the average man only 2.8 minutes to 3 minutes to orgasm. And it takes the average woman 15 to 20 minutes to orgasm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And some people get that, but they don't realize how normal it is. And they feel like there's something wrong with them when there's nothing wrong with them. So, I just have the conversations. I tell the stories and, all the time people will say, "Oh, are you looking in my window?" And I joke around. I say, "No, I'm not looking in your window. I'm giving you a look into my window so that you can see that what's going on in your life is fairly normal."
Fantastic. I love that. I love the way you put things like to make them comfortable and to don't judge, like to be judgmental thoughts about your conversation. That's really powerful. Wow.
And I try to be careful to remember that if I'm giving a statistic like 68% of people like this, that means that 42 people or 30, I'm so horrible with math, 68, 32% like it the other way. And so just because you're in that lesser group, if we're just talking about the United States, is 68% of people like that, and only 32% like this, that's still millions and millions and millions of people.
Yeah, we're talking about millions. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, even I was one of our sex educators that came to one of our conferences and said, when I think she was talking about something about transgender, and she said it's only 3% of the population. She goes, but that still equates to 30 million people.
Wow.
Right. And when she said it that way, and I don't know if that's the actual number, but whatever number she said, it makes so much more sense when you think, if you're still talking about a percentage of people, And you're not talking about 100 people, you're talking about millions of people. 5% of millions of people is still a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you're not alone.
It is impossible to be alone because we are a lot of people
Yeah.
in the world. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that makes them feel more, how I say, grounded, like they know they're not alone because it's real, it's reality. You're not alone. You, the same way you feel, is thousands and billions of people. Yeah.
Right.
So
how you see that just on the internet right now. You could see half of your friends are oh my God, everybody stay home, and the other half are like, oh my God, settle down. You know, it's like no matter what you're feeling, there's still millions of people who feel the same way as you, right or wrong.
Yeah, straight away. Yeah. So how long lasts like when you do your show? How long lasts your show for on an evening?
My comedy show, so I usually will have an opener who does about 20 minutes and then, or 30 minutes, depending on how much I have, because I am still building it, and I've only done it 4 times. So when you see somebody who's doing a comedy show on like Netflix or Comedy Central or something like that, they've done that show hundreds of times. They have it locked down. Right?
Yeah.
They know exactly how long it's going to take. They know every joke and where it's going to be. I've only done this 4 times as a combination of the 2 things. So my last one was an hour and 20 minutes. I'd like to get it to an hour and a half show, or an hour. It's got to be, like one or the other, so that I can, when I'm telling people what it's going to be, that's how long it's going to be. So the first time it was like, they've been running about an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm pretty comfortable in that area.
Oh, good. And I'm sure you've been just searching a lot of different other comedians, and they do shows, and you see how long they normally take, because I don't really understand too much about comedy. I've been watching some, and actually last week I watched one guy on Netflix, and I think was more than an hour, actually. More, maybe. It was his first show on Netflix, and was amazing. I was laughing after a laugh and no stop, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is so crazy. He was really crazy. So,
you know what his name was?
Sorry?
Do you know what his name was?
So he's a Brazilian one. I'm from Portugal, and he speaks Portuguese, and he's Mirelle.
Oh, okay.
So you're not gonna understand, right?
No, probably not.
Just following the laugh, and you laugh as well. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, but he's Brazilian. But it was a really good comedy show. Really, really good.
And comedy's really needed right now.
Yeah, but you probably been searching a lot of guys or girls doing this, right?
No, I watch comedy just to entertain myself. Sometimes what I do is I'll look at their audience, and I'll say that's the right size room for me. And then at the end, I'll find out like where they recorded it. And then I'll Google how many seats are in that venue.
All right.
And then in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for that size venue. Okay, I'm ready for that venue now. So I do a little bit of that.
So many things involved to be on a stand-up comedy, because it's the place, it's the number of people, is the type of like your script, because you will create your script, right?
Well, eventually I'll memorize it exactly how I want it. But I swear part of my charm is I have no idea what's about to come out of my mouth. And more than once I've said stuff that have just stopped me in the middle of a show because I said it, they laughed, and then I realized what I said, and then I laughed, and then they laughed because I was laughing.
I know that feeling, and that's amazing. You are a natural comedy,
right?
I believe. Yeah, you must be so hilarious.
And that's where I feel like that when I took just the comedy out, and I didn't do the sex ed part, I wasn't doing my party, it was less fun for me because there's less interaction and less playfulness, and it's like, first you say this, then you say this, then you say this, then you say this, and yes, it's all funny, but it feels more like I'm reading from a script. Whereas when I'm doing my stand-up comedy sex ed, it's only sort of scripted. I know what order I'm going to say things in general, but there's a lot of free play because I can, if I get a comment from the audience or, you know, somebody will be like, woo woo, and I'm like, there's a have it, love it over there, you know? And it's more like I'm with them instead of performing for them.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's the main thing on the comedians that do stand-up comedy, because I've been watching a couple of them and I realized like they are always interacting with people. The good one, they're always interacting, and that makes the public feel like he's just there with them, instead of just performing something that he trained himself during I don't know how many days, because it comes naturally.
That's the people who could do crowd work.
Oh yeah.
And so my crowd work is different. I just realized I do crowd work. It's just that I do it my way instead of other people's way.
Yeah, great. Raylene, I'm so impressed, and congratulations for all you've been doing, because it takes courage, and you started. You already done 4 times your stand-up comedy sex ed, and that's amazing. And I'm sure I'm going to see you on Netflix. I'm so sure. I feel it. I totally feel, and I believe it. And I would like to, I'm going to come up with my last question, which is how people can connect with you and find more about your work.
Easiest is if you go to standupcomedysexed.com. I am also on Instagram, Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed. Yeah. I'm on Twitter, Raylene056. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/myfriendscallmeRayRay, because Facebook would not let me have sex ed in my title.
Oh, really? No sex on Facebook, darling.
No sex on Facebook. So it's My Friends Call Me Ray Ray.
Okay. And YouTube, right?
YouTube channel, it's Raylene Taskoski. That's Taskoski. And you could probably also find it just by looking up stand-up comedy sex ed.
Yeah,
I should check that.
Google, right? So all this information for my listeners right now, all the information about your social media, where to find Raylene Taskoski, it will be described on the podcast. On the description of the podcast, you will find all the information. Guys and girls, get in touch, find out more about Raylene, and listen her comedy videos on YouTube. Thank you so much, Raylene. It was amazing to have you here and talk for the first time on my podcast with someone that does comedy, stand-up comedy, plus sex ed. That's amazing. I'm so grateful. I had an amazing time.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really fun.
Oh, great. And I'm sure we will speak again soon. You take care. All the best. And we keep in touch for sure. I will keep watching your videos and see where you're going from now. You're gonna Netflix is the beginning.
Exactly.
For the better. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Entrepreneur Talks podcast. This is our season 2, run by Women Flix. My name is Yola Bastos. Follow us on social media by Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You will be able, by these platforms, listen, share, and like our podcast sessions. So, don't forget, follow us on social media. And if you want, you also can follow us on Spotify or iTunes or Anchor. You have plenty of choices, or you can choose all. So, I just want to say have fun, because it's new stories, new season, new inspirations. Stay tuned, and I speak with you later. Bye.